Shalom Yashrala, this your brother Dawada, coming back at you with this here truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushua, Bahashim, Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of great millstone that taught us this truth and that we will. And salutation and much love for you, Aki, pushing this truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. So I want to jump into this here, a little bit of this here article real fast, as far as dealing with the decay of society, the decay of the world, and how, these are clear signs that we're at the end of everything. So I'm going to read only a little bit of this here article. You can kind of get the gist of, certain things that's just going on and what you would, if you're looking at the long-term play of how things would, end up as far as like they're talking about having children. What kind of world would these children grow up in? Is there any hope for the next generation? All right. So it says, as parents, the speed of Western society and culture is descending into hysterical self-hatred makes me worry for my children. All right. And just, they talking about also, well, let me read this first paragraph. It says, I don't want to bring my children into a world where they're supposed to loathe themselves because of the color of their skin, be forced to endure drag queen story hours at school, and be taught distorted woke history lessons. All right. And, dealing with the latter things here, about the kids enduring story times and things like that from these people. As we spoke about over the weekend at camp about some of the things that they have these kids witnessing and things like that. You would have to look down the line and see what's in store for these children. So now let me read through this here, these couple paragraphs. It says, I am now in middle age with 4 young children, and I sincerely wish I could say that I felt at ease with these changes and that I was not concerned about their direction and impact upon the younger generations, but I cannot. All right. So also just thinking ahead of the time, you got your children, all right, and the world that they're growing up in and what it's going to be when they have children. All right. If we were to go on that long, Lord will, we hasten in the day that, we won't be here in that, at that point in time. It says, I'm increasingly nervous about raising my children in this Western culture, which seems to, despite all boundaries, and I would guess that I am among millions who feel similarly. Millions who are somehow without any say in its direction. All right. Because, contrary to popular belief, a lot of people are going around, and it's not really a lot of people. It's a small group of people with a loud voice to saying things like, let people live their own life. Let people do what they want to do and all these things. And a lot of these things are coming from these here women. All right. And again, it's just showing forth of it. Obviously, this is a woman that's speaking, but it's showing forth that, these women shouldn't be running anything. All right. This may sound sexist and everything else like that. But, hey, I can guarantee you the person who thought of the idea of the story time with the children, with these people from these different communities wearing different sex objects while they're reading stories to these children did not come from no straight man. All right. And if it did, there would be an outcry that this man was being a pedophile, a predator, and things like this. This came from these so-called new woke women. All right. With the purple hair and things like that. And, some of these men that are in this here community. All right. But nevertheless, as far as, just how do I say, your so-called heterosexual men. All right. And these women that are, happily married and know their position in, the household and everything like that. They're not the ones saying these things. The ones that are parents that are raising up children. All right. The most of these people that are saying these things, they don't have children of their own. And if they do, they should have their children taken away from them. Because like I said, if I was me being a heterosexual male, if I had children and I brought my children to a strip club, to some type of sex store shop or anything like that, they would take my child away from me saying it was child abuse. But yet and still, they're allowing these parents of these communities to bring their children out to these parades, to see all these things, to story time with these people from this here community. All right. And showing them all kind of absurd things. All right. It says both the nations I have called home have become largely unrecognizable from the ones I knew from my youth. While traditional or classic Western culture still exists, it does only as a kind of ghost, since in few remnant castles and cobbled streets now surrounded by industrial urban sprawl. While you can still find here and there the canon of great Western literary work, there is an understood tension in discussing it. A caveat that their ideas are outmoded of no further value and require updating. All right, because this is the ideology that they're pushing on people. Oh, we got to change and upgrade and update things because of the fact of, we're moving into a progressive direction now. All right, to where now these children can do all these be exposed to all types of these things and everything like that. Whereas you can't, they have the different movie ratings for the children. You got rated G, rated PG, PG-13, rated R. All right, back in the olden days, I don't know if it's still like this, but back in the olden days when I was coming up, you couldn't get inside of a rated R movie or a PG-13 movie unless you had a parent with you if you was under the age of 13. All right, so if there were certain scary movies that kids couldn't see with, no sexuality or anything in there, but just, some violence, people killing each other and things like this, hell, even, what do you call it? Certain video games like Grand Theft Auto, they have a age rating on these games because of the certain types of content that's in the games. All right, but yet and still, when we're talking about something that is way more far left field from this, it's like, no, we have to educate the children on these things. We have to educate children on how to have safe anal sex in the third grade and things like this. So you have to understand, where would the kids be? I was having this conversation with somebody the other day about what they were trying to say that God don't want you to be drunk. You got to always be sober and things like that. And I was giving them the analogy of like, well, this is more or less like, they were drinking in the scriptures, but nevertheless, you shouldn't be a drunkard. You shouldn't be, from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, just drinking all day long. Of course, that's not wise. But nevertheless, as far as being sober minded, be sober, be vigilant. All right, is going into these types of things like right now, like the lady was saying, she has kids already, but why would I want to have kids and bring them into this here society where there's no uncertainty for, them to grow up to have I got to phrase this a certain type of way, not a modern life, but a traditional life. You can't even say a good life because they'd be like, no, this is good for children to explore their sexualities in the first grade and things like that. But nevertheless, hey, they can't be having sex with each other at that age, but yet they can explore their sexuality at that age, and, teach them how to do all kind of things. But nevertheless, continuing on, it says, while this alone is a tragic loss, it is merely the foundation of more active and aggressive social pressure. These pressures manifest as cultural self-hate, which amazingly enjoys unanimous support from the American state, the education system, the media, and global big business, because ultimately this is an agenda that is being pushed. This is what you call brainwashing the nation. All right, so let's read that again. It says they have unanimous support from the American state, so the government, the education system, where your kids are going to have to go through to be raised up. All right, the media, anytime they turn around, turn the TV on, listen to the radio, get on social media, look at the magazines, anything that they're going to come in contact with is pushing the same agenda. You would be surprised how many times that, on TV and commercials they have, two people of the same sex kissing, all right, all kind of things like that. Like I said, when I was coming up, man, all right, you didn't see, heterosexual couples kissing on the commercials and things like that, man. All right, you didn't see any things like, on the Zelle commercials and things like that around Valentine's Day. You may have a man presenting his woman a ring or something like that, and they may hug or hold hands, but you didn't even see them kissing on TV, man. All right, not like that on the commercials and things like that. But nevertheless, hey, now they're showing, two men intimately, doing their business. But nevertheless, hey, this is what's being pushed onto this here generation. So you have to think about what's going to be next for the next generation. If these people are being led down for instance, if you teach if you raise up a whole generation of children that a healthy diet is eating Snicker bars and drinking Sprites all goddamn day, all right, and you raise these children up believing this, and they grow up to have children, and they start feeding their kids this, you know what I'm saying? What do you think is going to happen to the generations after that? This is going to start deteriorating, all right? It says, thus, we have the riots and statue removals, nevertheless. That's, on some other things. But that's all I wanted to read out of their article. But let me get a little bit more, or let me grab some scriptures here just to touch on some of these things, all right? This is 2 Ezra 14 and verse 17. It says, it's a lot. 2 Ezra 14 and 17. For look how much the world shall be weaker through age, so much more shall evils increase upon them that dwell therein. All right, so twofold, as we progress in time, things get how you would say less potent. All right, when you go back and you look at the food and things like that, the food we're not even eating real food nowadays, right? So if you talk to anybody that's ever been outside the country, let's say they've an American been here in America for a long time, because this actually happened to a couple of my relatives but nevertheless, they were all born here, lived here forever and everything like that. But they traveled outside the country to different countries, and they went and bought some fruit because, they normally eat fruit throughout the day and everything like that. So they just go to the grocery store, get some fruit. But nevertheless, on the ride back, the smell of the fruit was so potent unto them that they had to drop the windows. It was almost making them nauseous. It wasn't a bad smell. It was just a normal smell of the fruit, but it was so much more stronger because it's not GMO'd out. All right. But nevertheless, and even from that, they just started itching and everything like that. They wound up throwing it out because they're not used to eating something that potent like that. All right. Because we have everything over here that's all watered down. All right. And when you look at just anything, in the scriptures, they said, it took 2 men to carry 1 bushel of grapes. All right. Now you can have a little baby pick up a bushel of grapes in today's times. All right. So even the grapes, the foods, everything is getting smaller and smaller. You can even look at, how when they go and fish certain fish and you see skeletal remains, the fish used to be a lot bigger than they are now because, they got the overfishing and everything. They got, newer technology to gather up way more fish so they don't have the time to repopulate and things like that. All right. So everything is getting a lot smaller. Like, like I said, you can look at the fruits, the vegetables and everything else like that. Not only that, the people, you look at the generations where the fathers were a lot taller than their sons, and so on. And as it keeps continuing on down, not to say that, you can't have for instance, for the most part, all the men in my family, they're taller than their sons. But I do have one uncle that's his sons are actually taller than him. All right. So, I mean, not to say that everybody's like that, but for the most part, you're starting to see these things like that, man. All right. And you're seeing a lot more of these women. If you go back and you look at the women were way more voluptuous. All right. Not to say that they were all fat or anything like that, but just the portions of their bodies were a lot bigger than they are nowadays. All right. This is why you're having these women getting these body modifications and things like that, to be filled out more. But this is how women, you can go back and look at a lot of the statues and portraits of the women back in the olden days, how we would say, oh, man, they was thick. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't that they was all extra slim. But nevertheless, throughout times, things are deteriorating. Back in the olden days, I was also having this conversation with somebody else about how, back in the olden days, well, in the scriptures, they tell you basically about, we call it now when children hit puberty, all right, that, that's when they become adults. That's the time for them to get married and have children. All right, when a female has her menstrual cycle and everything like that, this is the, or boy, like I said, turns 13, this is pretty much the time for them to become adults. And they was making adult decisions and having families and raising children. All right. But in today's society, obviously we're not advocating you having sex with no little children or anything like that. But when you look at the children, not the children, but the people nowadays, they pretty much still have a child's mindset at the age of 25, 27, 30 years old. All right. You still have these so-called adults walking around with the mindsets of children. All right. Because, and like I said, they all the way up to their damn near 30s and 35. You know what I'm saying? But going back, and they're having children at these ages. But when you go back, you see somebody at the age of 13 running their own household. You may have a couple that, the male might be 15, 16 years old. The wife might be 13. They living in their own house, raising their own kids, and the husband know how to go out and hunt and go grab food and plant. And the wife is at home doing her womanly duties and things like that, man. All right. So you can just tell from back in those days how things were to how things are now. And I also can remember in my own life and generation when I was, a young kid, around the age of maybe 10 or so. All right. I could remember a lot of so-called adult situations that was going on. Like, when I was 10 years old, you had like Tupac and all him and Biggie, and they was going through all the East Coast, West Coast. And I could understand what was really going on, what beef was, what they was, kind of fighting about and everything else like this. This was an adult situation. Whereas nowadays, I got a little niece that's almost around that same age, like 10 or 11, she's somewhere around that age. But she's still on some like real little girl type of stuff, some like Disney Channel. She's watching Frozen and things like that. Her mind is nowhere near where me and my sister's mom was at that age. We were driving, at a real young age. In fact, my sister had her first car accident at the age of 12. She was driving by herself while I'm hitting the gas pump. But nevertheless, these are the things we was doing at the age of 10 and 12. My little niece, she, is still doing really, really, really little girl stuff. So you can see from, they, singing the Disney kid pop music where we were listening to adult content. You can say, oh, that was how your parents was raising you. But at the same time, we were with more, adult decisions. We used to go out to the skating rink by ourselves. We knew how to watch ourselves and not talk to strangers and do certain things. We got into trouble. We knew how to get on. Hell, even at that age, living in Atlanta, we would catch the city bus, the train. We would go out and do everything we needed to go do and handle our own business, be accountable for our own money and everything like that at the age of 10 and 12 years old, But in this generation, you can't do that with the kids nowadays because they just, they're still on a little kids' mindsets and doing little kid things. But hey, just to show you how the deterioration, like I was making a point about back in the olden days, they were starting families at 13. Nowadays, you have 25-year-olds still acting like children, still doing childlike behavior and things like that, going through the Walmart, jumping in the, those big air inflated balls and things like that. Just doing stupid stuff. You even have adults doing these little stupid memes and jokes and stuff like, man, that's for the kids. Kids need to be doing that little social media. You 30-something years old with a damn TikTok, doing some TikTok videos. Now, obviously, you could be doing some educational type of shit on there. But for you to be over there doing like the Icebox Challenge or any of these stupid ass challenges, and you over the age of 13 years old, you can already see where I'm going with this. All right. Things are just deteriorating. So if these people that have the mindsets of children are having children, what do you think is going to be going down for the next generation? All right. So now let's continue on. Well, let me go back and read this again. 2 Ezra 14 and 17. For look how much the world shall be weaker through age. So as we're going forward, things are just getting weaker and weaker, more deteriorating. Not just the food, the things that surround us, the mindsets of the people and everything. So much more shall evil increase upon them that dwell therein. All right, because like I said, just dealing with the mindsets of people, they're getting weaker and weaker. You have this generation that don't want to work. All of us have stories from our parents and our grandparents. Our parents told us how they was working at the age of 10, 12, 13. I got my first job at 13, and I got my first job when I was, 14, 15, I was like 14 and bought my first car when I was like, probably like 14 or 15, because I remember I didn't even have my learner's permit when I bought my first car. I had my own job, bought my first car for $500 and had to wait like 2 years before I could even drive the damn car. But nowadays you have some people like, a younger generation, 25, 26, 27 years old, ain't never drove a car, don't have no driver's license, especially with the advent of Uber and things. Well, I don't even need no car. You don't even know how, you have people, this new generation of these younger women that don't know how to cook, don't know how to do anything. But when I was younger, you know what I'm saying? I had my older sister, older female cousins and things like that, 13, 14 years old was frying chicken and cooking dinner for the rest of us and shit like that, cleaning the house, knowing how to do this, knowing how to babysit and watch the kids and everything else like that, But again, the young generation, there's no hope for them, man. All these things, this is it for them, all right? And you see the things that they're programming their minds with, teaching them, how to, the things that they're teaching and prioritizing with teaching these kids nowadays versus, how to, live a profitable life in the sense of, actually being progressive in life. They teaching these young kids. There was that story about how the one teacher was teaching these first graders how to masturbate properly. And then in the juniors, they was teaching them how to set up OnlyFans accounts and things like that. But like, this is what you're teaching them. All right, you're not teaching them how to go out. You're just teaching them how to just basically be prostitutes and things like that. So if this is what you're teaching these 17-year-olds in high school, what do you think once they get older, what do you think they're going to start teaching their children? Well, shit, I learned when I was 17 how to prostitute myself. Well, what do you think they're going to be telling their kids when they're in their teenage years, man? All right. Their minds hadn't quite developed, and this is what's going on in this society, man. This whole place is gone. Let me go from there to, what am I looking for? Jeremiah. This is Jeremiah chapter 31. Jeremiah 31 and verse 22. It says, how long wilt thou go about, thou old backsliding daughter? For Yahweh have created a new thing in the earth. A woman shall compass a man. And this is where a lot of these things have started. And people don't really want to admit these things. But nevertheless, since... you can even look in the so-called black community when they had, civil rights movements and the, women's liberation movements and things like that. All right, this is when they started saying that the man had to be kicked out the household for you to reap these governmental benefits and everything. And they was pushing the agenda onto the women that these women don't need men, so-called women's empowerment and everything else like this, So, people will have the argument of, oh, well, what's wrong with women ruling everything and running everything and being the heads of the household? All right, well, you can have that argument, but then you can't be a hypocrite and complain about how lazy these children are, don't want to have a work ethic. All they want to do is be on TikTok and Instagram all goddamn day. All right, all they want to do is be twerking and being models and everything like that. All right, you can't, you can't complain about how these kids don't really know how to do anything, man. All right, they just want to sit at home and be on the internet all damn day or be little savages and running around and shooting and killing folks and smoking the ops. You can't you can't complain about any of these things because you are the same people that says no, women should be in control of things and women should be ruling things and everything else like that. You have this here culture of, like I said, they got the kids in these story times with these people from the community and all these different things going on. Like I said, there was no heterosexual male, all right, who has children, all right, that's pushing and promoting these things, man. All right, because like again, when I was younger, if my sister wanted to walk out the house with some little too short shorts on or a low cut shirt on, and my father was around, you ain't walking out the house like that. You know what I'm saying? I don't give a damn what you got going on. And, you can call him mean if you want to call him mean, or you can call him oppressive if you want to call him oppressive. But you can even ask my sister to this day, even though she might have fought against it and thought it was hateful and everything else like that, she thankful she, wasn't a teenage mother having some children before she got out of high school, get all knocked up, get some STDs or all kind of crazy things that's going on at that point in time, man. All right, you can't, again, you can't have it both ways. You can't be like, oh, your father was oppressive, this and that. Well, obviously, you see a lot of these um, young women that are having these children at such young ages in high school and sometimes even middle school. All right, you ask where their father is, and now if they do have the father in the household, he's being overran by the wife. All right, but nevertheless, if they had that good stern father in the household laying down the law like he should have been, all right, these little girls would have been coming home fearing like, nah, bro, I mean, I like you. I got the biggest crush on you. I would love to go to this party and sneak out with you. But if my father caught me, boy, I wouldn't see the end of that shit, man. All right. And the same with the little boys, man. I even still have this instilled with me to this same day, man. All right. Hey, because I remember growing up, I might have been so-called reprimanded maybe 3 or 4 times in my life. All right. As a young child from my father, where he actually, how Jake used to get it, you know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, after that, all my parents had to say, I'm going to tell your daddy. That was the most fearful fucking line I could ever hear in my life was, I'm going to tell your daddy. It's just like a so-called grown Jake, like, hey, we finna call the police. All right, we cool. Because you knew you had that authoritative figure that was there that was holding you back from doing this here wicked shit. So even to this day, before I think about doing some dumb shit, I'm like, shit, I might go hit this here lick, go rob this dude or go do this and do that. I like, man, if I get caught, what will my father say about this shit, man? Not only will my father be disappointed, he'll be like, I raised you better than that, but because you don't have that in the household no more, the women are one saying, oh, I don't need no man. I just want the baby. All these different things is going forth. They single independent mothers and everything like that. This is the result of all these things, man. All right. So let me read that again. It says Jeremiah 31:22. How long wilt thou go back, O thou backsliding daughter? For Yahweh have created a new thing in the earth. All right. So this is something that ain't never really happened before. And now you seeing how fast this place is deteriorating, man. All right. How, like I said, over just a couple of generations, everything just spiraled out of control. But this went forth after the fact of pushing and promoting, these single mothers. Because like I said, growing up, when I was younger, if you was a so-called single mother raising all these kids and you had multiple baby daddies, that was a shame to yourself. They're like, well, where your husband? And how you got all these kids and they ain't got no husband, ain't got no man? Despite the so-called financial things about it, they would just look at you weird for those things, man. All right, nowadays, that's a sign of empowerment. You go, girl, you raise them kids by yourself. You don't need no man. You don't need this and that. But like I said, you can't complain when you out here looking at these kids that's just feel super entitled, this so-called snowflake. Where you get these snowflakes from? Where you get this terminology from? Why do people hate this Gen X and the millennials and everything else like that? Because they was raised by their single mothers, man. They was raised by this feminine emotional creature that's just going about satisfying the flesh. All right, when you just go about satisfying the flesh, again, think about it with eating food, man. If you just want to go about satisfying your flesh all damn day long and eating was pleasing unto your taste buds, you end up like these people that you see as overweight and obese and unfit. They're not eating healthy. All right, but the people that's eating healthy, it's not necessarily these healthy foods are so-called tasteful, you know what I'm saying, and things like that, where people just look forward to that, but they know that they have to have a certain regimen or a certain diet to eat to live. They have to have some type of line of authority in order to have the outcome that they want. If I want to be fit and healthy and live a long life, I got to eat like that, man. All right, but if I want to just live at the emotions and pleasing my flesh, well, I can eat whatever I want to eat, however it makes me feel. Eating McDonald's double cheeseburgers and Big Macs every damn day make me feel good, but or emotionally feel good. But what is it really doing to your body? All right, so this is why we shouldn't be having this type of rulership. But hey, like I said, we too far gone now. You've been eating these Big Macs every day of your life for 35 years because it made you happy and everything. But now you got diabetes, you got to cut off your leg and everything else like that. You too far gone, man. Hey, we gotta end this now, man. All right. So let me go from there to Proverbs. I done brought this out quite a few lately. But hey, this is the generation that we're living in right now. All right. I think it's verse 17. No. Uh, Proverbs 30:11 says, "There's a generation that curseth their father, all right, and does not bless their mother." All right. So, you got this whole generation. Hey, my father wasn't around. I don't know that nigga, this, and that. Fuck that nigga, and all these types of things. None of them really ask the question, and this actually comes up. And once, people start going into the psychological things about these things, the fact of the matter, like I said, this happens a lot in Jake's communities where the mothers, they'll always talk down or talk trash about the baby father, right? But it was the mother who made an irrational, unresponsible decision to lay down with this dude. She knew this dude wasn't shit when she met this dude and had this one night stand with him or whatever she had with him. All right. And for whatever reason, she wound up, either running him off or leaving him or just not wanting to be with him or wanting to collect that paycheck and things like that, man. All right. Now, they do have some no good men that just hit it, quit it, don't take no responsibility for what they got going on. But nevertheless, it was the mother who decided to bring that child into this here world and take responsibility for it. If you decide to do that, you got to take responsibility for it. That's on you. All right. But nevertheless, they've kicked the fathers out. All right. The authoritative figure. All right. And then now what? If you kick the laws out, now you're living lawless. All right. Verse 12, there's a generation that is pure in their own eyes and yet is not washed from their filthiness. So, hey, everything that you think is cool in your own eyes is cool in your own eyes. Again, if I want to eat Snicker bars and drink a Sprite every night of the week or eat Big Macs and double cheeseburgers every night from McDonald's, and if that's what makes me feel good, let me feel good doing that. But then, again, you can't complain when you can't breathe. They got to cut your leg off. You finna die of a heart attack and everything like that. Hey, I don't want to go to your funeral. I don't want to put up no prayers for your ass. I don't want to come see you in the hospital. That was your own fault. You did that on your own when, you knew what was right. But, hey, you wanted to live after the flesh. But this is the generation that we're living in. All right, so like with the lady in the article was saying, bro, I don't really want to raise up no kids like this if I can't tell my child they got to eat their dinner and they got to eat their vegetables. They got to eat what's healthy for them. They can't just have fruit roll-ups and Snicker bars and cookies every night for dinner. And if I tell my kids they got to eat healthy and they got to take a bath and brush their teeth in the morning, that I'm fearful of the CPS coming and taking my children for child abuse, man. What kind of world are we living in, man? All right, if I know that sounds like a stretch, but literally look at what we're looking at. If I want to not have my child in the school where they teaching them how to masturbate in the first grade and having them go to story time with these people from this here community, then I'm being oppressive to my child. What do you think? What kind of you showing them all kind of deviousness or how to be deviates? What do you think they're gonna be when they get older, man? What do you think they're gonna be doing to the next generation of these children, man? All right, they're gonna be full blown just molesting them all out from their childbirth, man. All right. Verse 13, there's a generation, oh, how lofty are their eyes and their eyelids are lifted up. The so-called snowflake generation, such entitled to everything. I'm entitled to be, they hurt my feelings or whatever, or they did this, they did that. I heard a story on the news or the radio about how this lady called in. She was mad. She said she felt like her boss fired her because she was black, and that, hey, things like that happen sometime, right? But after listening to this woman speak and tell all her story, like, nah, it wasn't because you black. It's just because you just so-called feel entitled to everything without no work ethics behind it. I guess she was probably working in like a restaurant or something like that, but she wasn't that great of a server, always trying to get out of things, never really took time to learn their job or anything like that. Remember people's orders, always screwing things up. And so, they didn't give her the best hours. They didn't give her the most shifts and everything else like that. And when she started complaining about it, she brought this whole big thing up because it was her about being black and not about her work ethic. And she didn't try to show no improvement on any of those things. And so she went up into the boss's face trying to make a thing like, oh, you just don't like me because of who I am and this, and that. It ain't had nothing to do with her being black. All right, there was other black employees there and they got along perfectly fine. But it was just because of how, she was so-called entitled to feel like this because, hey, she's been so-called sugar-coated her whole life, man. Ain't nobody was able to tell her the truth. So you can't tell a person nothing like that. You can't tell a person like that anything in this here world because they're going to just always play the victim, man. All right, I know people that's like that today where they have all these new terminologies. Well, oh, I'm an introvert. I'm an extrovert. I don't know how to, I'm just that type of person where I don't get along with people. No, you just ain't never had to actually go outside and make friends. All right, you've always been able to sit behind this your computer. Oh, I got this problem wrong with me. I got that problem wrong with me. I'm a this and I'm a that. No, bro, you just don't know how to sit there and have any kind of self-discipline, man. All right, you got to work and learn on these types of things, man. All right, people aren't born waking up at 6 o'clock in the damn morning. They have to have discipline with that and learning how to do that. When you in school, you wake up, you tired and going to bed on time and everything else like that. But once you work on those things and you perfect those things, you get better at it. But if you never practice those things, you're going to always be like that, Again, my little niece, she like to stay up to like the wee hours early in the morning, and when she got to wake up early in the morning, she be all cranky and everything like that. She don't use this, but she can't use this as excuses. Oh, I'm a whatever type of new word you want to bring up as a definition is. I just the type of person that has a problem with waking up early in the morning. No, you got a problem with going to bed at night. You want to sit up and play your goddamn video game all night because you're being allowed to do all those things. Nobody is checking you and telling you what your mama ain't telling you what you should be doing and laying down that authoritative rule again, because she's living in that type of household where her mom's going to let her do whatever she want to go and do. All right. Because she don't want to sit there and actually raise the kids. She's, well, whatever, go do you. I'm gonna go do me. I'm over here busy living my best life, and so now the kid is over here raising their own self, but then they're getting weaker and weaker. So now when this child has to get up and go to school in the morning, all right, and brain function and thinking correctly, or get up and go to a job in the morning. She's so used to just going to bed whenever she want to go to bed and playing her game all night. And, all these things, this is what she's going to be accustomed to. But it all stems from what? The deterioration of this society. One of the things that was headed was what? The women surpassing a man, all right? You can't tell a woman, a man can't tell a woman or his children anything to try to raise them. They would tell you you're a bad father. Let me see. Because you know what? Well, let me read this real quick. I was going to say for time's sake, I'm going to just bring out one more real fast. But I'm going to read this real quick. Isaiah 24:4 says, the earth mourneth and fadeth away. The world languish and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish. So the earth, the world, the ways of the world is fading away. Not the earth itself. The earth isn't deteriorating, but the ways of the earth, passing down, back in the olden days, the fathers would pass down certain trades and skills to their sons. All right. The mothers would pass down certain traits and skills to their daughters of how to raise a house. And like I said, man, in real life, man, my cousins and my sister and everybody like that, they was cooking full dinners, frying chicken and stuff like that at 13, 14 years old, baking and everything like that. You know how to cook at those ages and things like that. Nowadays, you seeing these so-called single mothers, maybe 25, 26 years old, don't know how to damn cook no ramen noodles. All right. They don't even know how to boil no eggs. All right. And I ain't just making this up as an exaggeration. This is some real life shit, man. They don't know how to cook at all, man. All right. So you can see how these things are just fading away. All right. It says the haughty people of the earth do languish. Even these proud people that's walking around, it's no more becoming enjoyable. Now, this lady that was in this article, I guarantee you she's not in this here truth. Right. But nevertheless, you know what I'm saying? Even those people, they're not so-called happy with the society that they're seeing going forth, man. Even those people know that there's certain things that just ain't right in this here world, man. Even the so-called wicked know that they're like, yo, man, this shit ain't where we want to be, man. All right. Well, let me read verse 5. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof. All right. So the earth was given into the hand of the wicked, and is now what being defiled under them. All right. Because why? They're the wicked. They were set to take peace from the earth. All right. These people set everything in disarray. All right. It says because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, and broken the everlasting covenant. So the ways that things were supposed to be, the right path, they strayed from that path. And so things are just, hey, imagine baking a cake, right? They gave you the ingredients to bake the perfect cake and everything like that, And let's say the first time, instead of adding, I don't really know, but instead of adding whatever, 4 teaspoons of sugar or something like that, you add 3. Then the next time you add 2. Then the next time you add 1. That cake is not going to quite taste the same. It's going to get more and more, bland or whatever. You got some chicken or something like that. You season it with all these different seasonings. And then every once in a while you subtract one seasoning to the very end to where it ain't got no seasoning in it at all. It's just bland, man. This is where we're going at right now, man. All right, because you started changing the so-called ingredients to how things should be put in order. All right, and we'll close out with this. Matthew 24:22. And except those days should be shortened, there shall be no flesh saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Now, with these prophecies and things like that that's popping off, like, with the medical situation, all these situations that's going on there. All right. And just World War III, the big major prophecies and things like that. Setting all that aside, the things that I'm just touching on now is as far as raising the people and the mindsets of the people and everything else like that. They so far gone deteriorating, man. You wouldn't have nobody that would want to work. Nobody would, they wouldn't know how to do anything nowadays, man. All right, if we kept going on in this here direction with the earth, man. Back in the olden days, you would know how to find directions by reading the map and everything else like that. But now you got MapQuest. You know, you can remember certain phone numbers and things like that. Now you got a phone book. All right, now you can just look things up on Google, so you don't even retain information into your minds anymore, man. So just all these things that you have going forth now, things are getting weaker and weaker and weaker as we're going forth, man. All right, you got people that's over here just doing the most, but nevertheless, you know, you got people saying, "Oh, I'm a boss, I'm a king," you know, things like that. And you know, they ain't got a pot to piss in or a window to throw the shit out of, you know, and they over here asking for some money. Hey, bro, let me borrow $500. Let me borrow $50. Let me go get this here amp Scott real quick. Let me go and palm my little PlayStation 5 in just so I can go do this and do that. But like, I thought you was a boss. I thought you was a king. See, these words, even the words have deteriorated from where they at, man. They waxing old, man. You could be a goddamn boss, ain't got no car, don't know how to drive, 35 years old, don't even know how to cook, ain't never had no job in your life, you know what I'm saying, and still living at home with your mama, just playing video games all day, but you a goddamn boss, right? But now, you know, back in the olden days, they would call you a lazy bum, a sluggard, man. But nowadays, you know, hey, you somewhat popping, man. All right, but hey, nevertheless, you know, this is going forth to show you that we in that last generation, man. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and close out with that. Lord willing, this here lesson was edifying unto the elect. Until next time, I say, call halal Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah Bahashim Rakakwadash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of great millstone and taught us this truth and ever will. And salutation and much love for you, I can't push in this truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. Till next time, I say, stay strong. Shalom.